Hello and welcome to our Soap Secrets special. I'm Claire Rupp, editor of What's on TV, and my soaps editor Sarah Waterfall today is chatting to Sally Carman, who plays Abby in Coronation Street. They're going to be chatting about the attack and murder of Sally's on-screen son, Seb. So here are Sally and Sarah chatting about the very moving storyline.
So I've seen the devastating scenes. I was so moved I cried.
Oh wow.
So if you can talk to us about the moment Abby learns her beloved Seb has died, you must have been heartbroken for her.
Oh, absolutely heartbroken. I mean, it's got to be the worst thing that can happen to anybody, is to lose a child, or just to lose anyone that you love. You know, luckily I've obviously lost grandparents in my lifetime, but that's the natural way of it, you know, way it should be, you know. But to lose someone prematurely, whatever the circumstances, must be absolutely devastating. So I guess I just put what I can draw on, my own personal experiences of heartbreak, and then, you know, just empathise and you know, try and, you know, imagine what that must be like. But of course I can only do what I can do. I've never actually been through something like that, and I wouldn't pretend to know what that felt like, to be honest.
Oh, well, I was completely moved. I mean, I was just distraught. How do you think Abby is going to handle this? She's gone from such a high, about to marry Kev, everything's coming together amazingly, and now she's about to be decimated to the lowest of the low.
I think with Abby, she's emotionally, she's a bit of a contradiction, because she's so impulsive, and that comes from an immaturity emotionally, just due to being blotto for so many years, I guess. And I think her response is to hold on to something, to have some kind of hook to focus this grief on, to try and make sense of it. So I kind of went down that road with it a lot, just to try and that just sort of like that spiralling, not knowing what to do, elements of it, I guess.
Yeah. And how far do you think, I mean, Abby, as you've just sort of touched on, she is incredibly impulsive and feisty and fiery. How far do you think she would go to get justice for this awful crime?
I think she would go to the death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think she's so emotional. And, you know, I think, you know, just doing my research with addicts in general, the reason they sort of numb themselves is because real life can be too painful at times. It seems, you know, that it's just a bit too much of it's too raw. And I think in this instance, you know, she's so raw, and I think there's definitely an element that she doesn't care if she lives or dies. If she can get revenge and get justice for him, then she'll put a life on it.
Do you think she would sacrifice her relationship for Kev, or is Kev going to be her salvation in this?
Well, I hope he is. I think she'd sacrifice everything, because she's also got a self-destruct button.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that wouldn't happen, and I don't think it will. From you know, the scenes that I'm filming at the minute, it seems, you know, that Kev is just been so brilliant with her. She's just, you know, landing punches on him left, right, and not literally, but just emotional punches on him, and he's just taking them and just soaking them up and supporting her and being there for her, and it's so lovely, to the point where when we finish filming certain scenes, I just finish it and they always just say cut, and I'm just like, oh. And Mike's just brilliant, so we're just, it's just been a joy, you know, the scenes we've had together. I've just loved it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a hugely important storyline in getting the message out against prejudice and intolerance, and I know obviously it mirrors the tragedy of what happened to poor Sophie Lancaster back in 2007, and you guys have been working very closely with Sylvia, her mum, who runs the foundation fighting against prejudice and intolerance. Did you feel a real sense of responsibility when you were given this storyline?
Yeah, I did. Very much so. Again, it's not something I've experienced personally, but to for someone to die due to the wearing too much eyeliner in their opinion or whatever it may be is just incomprehensible. And it's what do you do with that? I mean, Sylvia, I've heard her talk many times, and at the time when it happened, when she set up the Sophie Foundation, I did a charity event with that she was obviously she set up, and I was involved in that. And it's just when it's such a personal experience, and you hear from someone who's gone through it and going through it, will always go through it. It just takes your breath away. Just the finality of it, just to wipe out a life. And I think we can, with hate crimes, I think we can, we have such buzz phrases now, and it takes the personal out of it. And actually, what Corrie do so brilliantly, they bring up these subjects, and they happen to characters that you know and love, and suddenly it becomes personal, and it's not just a goth, it's someone, it's Nina, who we love and who's fallen in love with Sebs, and that's what's so good and so brilliant. So hopefully, we've done it enough justice that people will think twice and just take a breath before they decide to judge someone,
It must have been very emotional. I mean, I was on the Zoom yesterday when Sylvia was talking, and just hearing her talk about, losing her daughter. It's just, you just feel such respect that she's managed to sort of pick up and carry on and fight it.
Yeah, it must be such a, just thinking about what we just said now, it must be such a lonely place to be, because unless you've actually gone through that, how can you possibly totally understand? And Sylvia, the woman is phenomenal.
Yeah.
She really is, and she's turned it into a real positive thing as much as you can by, getting awareness out there and striving constantly since it happened to just, stop this happening against somebody else.
So going back to it playing out in Corrie, do you think that Abby will come up against or sort of tackle Roy? Is her anger going to get aired at Roy or directed at Nina?
Yes, I think there definitely is going to be an element of that, simply because, again, Abby needs to blame someone. She needs something to hang a hat on when it comes to why this happened. She needs to know why it happened, whose fault it was, what was the reason. And we've done scenes where the police said it was a hate crime because of how Nina looks. So all Abby can hear is, it's Nina's fault. It's because of what you were wearing that my son said. And so, in her grief, and later she says, I was out of my mind, she does blame Nina, and she doesn't fall out with Roy, but she has very little tolerance for his support of Nina at that point. It does turn around, but there is a short period of time where she needs to vent, and unfortunately poor Nina gets it.
Now, grief is such a long and twisting journey, isn't it? Do you think Abby is going to be forever changed as she goes down the path?
Yeah, I think if you experience something on that level, it will change. I think it could even change you chemically. I think, that's such a deep scar emotionally and physically. Yeah, I think it will. And that's okay. It's adding layers, and it doesn't mean some good can't come from it. If that it makes her softer or more empathetic or whatever it may do, which I hope it will, and I think it will because her heart's so big. But it will forever leave its mark for sure. Yeah.
Do you think she'll want to get the twins back from Australia?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I doubt it, just because that decision was made in their best interest, and she's already riddled with guilt due to being an absent mother, and exposing them to so many situations that they shouldn't have had to be exposed to as babies and children. So I think, one of the reasons, the reason she hasn't fallen off the wagon during this is because she knows it's the last thing Seb would have wanted. So I think for the first time in her life, she is genuinely putting her children first. And, the irony being for her to stay away in the instance of the twins.
So you've been working with Harry, who plays Seb, for a long time now. It must have been so sad to say goodbye to him.
Yeah, it really was. And he's delighted. I mean, I think he did, and he'd agree that he did his best work in the last block of filming, because he just really got his teeth into it, and he's given himself a brilliant springboard to go off and do whatever else he's going to do, and he will be brilliantly successful. I just know it.
Now the youth cast, Tanisha, who plays Asher, you've got Max playing Corrie, Millie as Kelly, and Harriet Summer. I mean, they're doing an incredible job, aren't they? As obviously as Molly as Nina.
They're just brilliant. They're brilliant, and I'm really enjoying being around them, and they're all bonkers in their own way. They're great fun, and and they can be like in deep conversation and chatting, and then it's like, right, okay, roll in, action, and they're on it and they're focused. And I admire them greatly, and I'm really enjoying these storylines and working with them. They're just bright lights, and it's lovely to be around that energy.
Yeah, it feels like this has been really probably the first time that the youth cast has had such a big storyline to carry, involving so many of them, rather than say one person reacting within a family, but as a gang or a group. It's huge, isn't it? It's a big deal for Coronation Street.
It is a big deal, yeah, and they're stepping up brilliantly, and they're really relishing it and enjoying it, and they're coming prepared, and I think, like you say, you can really see the work they've put in, and it's going to be, hopefully, well, I do believe it's going to be a really successful storyline, because they're all so good as well. They're all really pulling out their acting chops, and it's great to see it.
Yeah. Everyone's doing it such justice.
Yeah.
And just a final question. I know I've kept you a while, so thanks, Sally. We touched on earlier about Abby's quest for justice. Now, I know it's a story that's going to run, but do you think we will see justice served before the year is out, or is it going to go on to next year? Can you give us a tease about anything coming up?
I genuinely don't know, and that's the honest truth. I mean, I'm guessing there will be justice, because Corrie's, that's kind of what they're good at, finally getting justice. But I genuinely don't know. I guess I know a little bit, and at this point, justice hasn't been done where I'm up to in the script, and I'm quite upset about it. I'll be quite upset about it. But further than that, I honestly don't know. But I'm hoping and guessing that justice will be done. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic, Sally! Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
It was wonderful.